All right, welcome back, friends and neighbors. This is English lesson number 8 for A2C English. We're going to talk about some interesting things today. We're going to look at assignment number 2 for the writing assignment. We're going to look at chapter 2 of The Great Gatsby. It won't take 20 minutes like it says on this slide. It will probably take 2 minutes because I will record that separately. And then we're also going to look at how the A2C essay number 1 is going to be broken down into a couple different assignments as we go through October and head on our way to Halloween. I know Halloween might feel a little bit of ways off, it's about a month off, but we're going to start talking about that first essay now. And we're going to try and break it down into small chunks so it's not a big assignment. Just a quick recap, assignments that have passed, and when I grade them, they will be in the gradebook. That discussion from Baldwin and Buckley that was due on the 5th of this month, of 5th of September. I would still love to have that. I'd still love to hear your thoughts. The A2C form for credit, I would still like to get those in if possible. Standard assignment number 1 on citing sources, I would still like to see, and Gatsby Chapter 1 was due this previous weekend. Due this weekend, and the only graded assignment this week is standards assignment number 2. I'll also give you an opportunity for extra credit attached to Gatsby Chapter 2, but the only required assignment this week is standards assignment number 2 on themes. So we'll be looking at a review of how to complete that today real quickly before moving on to a quick discussion of Chapter 2 in Gatsby, and the focus of this lesson today will be primarily on talking about that first essay assignment that'll be due at the end of October. So real quickly, here are our learning targets for this lesson. In literature, we're going to be reading Gatsby Chapter 2 this week, and I'll have a journal for you. That will be the extra credit assignment for this week. You will not have to complete that, but if you choose to complete that, you will be able to get extra credit. The informational text during this lesson is all about the A2C essay that you'll be writing. I'm going to share with you a few links to This I Believe essays, which I'll drop in Google Classroom, and you'll be able to listen to those and get some examples of This I Believe essays, and I'll explain the rubric today. The writing learning target and assessment is that we can write 1 to 2 theme statements for a short story or video in your chosen career path or interest area, and include 2-sided quotes or explanations from that artifact that support your theme statement. And this will allow you to find a theme in stories that aligns to your interest. And the miscellaneous is we can review some past assignments to make sure that you can be responsible for completing assignments that have already gone past. That being the standards assignment number 1 and preparing to turn in standard assignment number 2 this weekend. Real quick, our week structure is always one lesson for Monday's or Tuesday class, which will be recorded and posted on YouTube, generally Monday mornings. Check Google Classroom. My office hours are 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on Wednesdays, and then we'll have that second lesson on Thursdays and Fridays with a video built into it. And keep your eyes peeled for assignments popping up on Google Classroom. They will always have that word graded in front of the title if they are required. We're going to take a moment for mindfulness. All right, so we're going to look back at the first writing lesson really quickly. If you were stuck on it, there's a link in Google Classroom to that walkthrough. I believe it is lesson 3 that actually gave you the most detail. So a quick reminder that I do still need you to complete standard assignment number 1 if you haven't in Google Classroom. If you're stuck, please drop me a question in the assignments in the comments area. I will try to respond to those comments in a reasonable amount of time and give you some assistance individually. But it's better to ask now than during October when we're working on our essay. and we've moved on from standard assignment number 1 and number 2. So standard assignment number 1 was due on the 12th. I have graded some of those. For people who haven't completed them, I have not put them in the grade book yet because there were enough people who hadn't that I wanted to give people an opportunity to complete that assignment before putting everyone's grades in the grade book as missing for the number of people who hadn't done that. The goal of that assignment was to give everyone different options for finding a main source to respond to and cite. And if you go to the assignment, at the bottom of the assignment is this screen. And this screen allows you to complete the assignment using what is effectively a Mad Libs version of the 2-paragraph requirement that I had for you. So instead of writing those 2 paragraphs completely, you would be effectively filling in the blanks. So what you do is you put the title of the article right here, where it says title of article. You would write the main article topic right here, where it says main article topic. And then you would go down this list and fill in the first point or argument, the second argument if there was one, the third argument if there was one, and then give me an interesting quote here from the article and an interesting quote here from the article. You won't need a third one. Then you would also need the author's last name. You don't need the year of publishing. You need the author's last name and the page number, which for most of these is just the number 1 because they are all online and they're all on the first page. So you're literally filling in this over here, and you will be placing the title here. You'll be putting the main topic here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. And then you'll be taking the first point, dropping it here and here. So you see how this works. You're gonna be filling in the information on this side of the page and then migrating it over here. The only part that you would have to actually produce all in your lonesome is the underlined portions that do not have highlighting. So the parts where you would need to be writing your own ideas would be like where it says your explanation goes here, or name of your chosen path goes here, or title of your chosen career or interest field goes here, or your interests, or this explanation, or this thinking piece on whether the article topic will change, and then this explanation here. The parts that I just highlighted in yellow, those would need to be filled in with your own thoughts. The rest of it is literally fill in the blank. Moving on to standards assignment number 2, which was you finding and defending some themes. You're presented with this screen. I've posted a couple different walkthroughs on how to complete this, so I won't go through it in detail again here. Just make sure that you either are looking at those walkthroughs or are attempting to tackle this assignment on your own without my walkthroughs. I do record these to hopefully give you some guidance if you're stuck. Your assignment page looks like this when it's blank, and then when it's finished, it should look something like this. Though for full credit, you do only need to have one statement with defense, and you can use a quote, or you can use an explanation. Either way, you can get full credit, so long as your quote or explanation defends your statement. What I mean by that is this part here must be in support of whatever statement you come up with. All right, so our literature lesson for this week is Chapter 2 in The Great Gatsby. I'll be posting that guided reading alongside this recording on Monday morning. There is no graded literature assignment this week. You will have an extra credit opportunity for Gatsby, just like you had an extra credit opportunity last week for Chapter 5 and the New Jim Crow. Those aren't required assignments, and they're generally worth 10 points. The required assignments will be generally worth 20 points, so if you miss one required assignment, you could usually make it up by doing 2 extra credit assignments, which feels pretty fair to me. If you could always go back and do the required assignment. The required assignments will usually be slightly meatier than the extra credit assignments. Notes on the guided reading. The blue words, as I read them with you, are aligned to the ACT reading, and the red words are aligned to the ACT English level vocab. And here are the extra credit questions for Gatsby Chapter 2. So for Chapter 2, please respond to one of the following questions for that extra credit assignment that I'm posting in Google Classroom. Your first possible question is describe the Valley of Ashes, and why do you think Fitzgerald, the author, is showing you all this detail? The second question is why do you think Daisy described Nick as an absolute rose? The third one is why do you think F. Scott Fitzgerald places such an intense symbol for God watching the Valley of Ashes in the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg? And the fourth question is what are the relationship dynamics between Myrtle Wilson and Tom Buchanan? And don't just say he breaks your nose. Because that is certainly part of the relationship dynamic in Chapter 2, but there's more going on there than just that physical moment. So that is an extra credit assignment. The only graded assignment this week is standards assignment number 2, and we will begin work on standards assignment number 3 in the second half of this week to kind of get the ball rolling on essay number 1, which we're going to talk about now. So essay number 1 is going to be a This I Believe essay, and we'll kind of walk through the structure of that here. The prompt for this assignment is that you're going to describe one of your personal beliefs and how you came to believe in it. So I'm going to provide some activities that help you choose a topic and give you some examples. And it all ties into this question of do we find or create our true selves? So do we make ourselves or do we find ourselves? 3 examples that I'm going to post in Google Classroom are Muhammad Ali's This I Believe speech, Still the Greatest, Amy Tan's This I Believe speech, Saying Thanks to My Ghosts, and Eve Birch's This I Believe speech, The Art of Being a Neighbor. And I'll post those 3 along with this video for you to listen to for some good examples. The purpose of this assignment is that it's going to be an argumentative essay in which you describe a personal belief and try to convince your reader that it is relevant to them. The main purpose of this paper is argumentative, and it will be written for an academic audience. One of your goals is to make sure that after reading your paper, a reader understands one of your personal beliefs. So you're going to follow the formal writing process to produce a 2-page essay. Let's break down a few of the words I used on the last slide. An argumentative essay is an essay that does not need to have cited sources or quotes, but may be completely of your own opinions or belief. It will still use claims, subclaims, counterclaims, analysis, anecdotes, or other support structures. It won't necessarily use all of those structures, but you may use some of those structures in what you write. It is for an academic audience, so the tone and language in your essay should be in a mostly formal register, meaning try to avoid slang terms, and if you write using AAVE or other dialectical language, you should be using it intentionally to communicate experiences and opinions. And it should be a 2-page essay that needs to be a minimum of 2 pages, maximum of 4 pages, and it will be double-spaced. The process we're going to introduce you to is the writing process. So we're going to be doing pre-writing, drafting, revising, and editing. And I'm going to give you a timeline for when that's going to be done. The pre-writing will be in standards assignment number 3, and it will be due October 10th. And it will be on the and that standards assignment will be on the topic of narrative writing. So the standard we'll be hitting will be for narrative, but it will also be your pre-writing for this assignment. Standards assignment 3 will be outlining your essay and communicating one anecdote or discussion that supports your chosen This I Believe statement. All right, so here we have your timeline for essay number 1. This is the due dates for each part of the essay, each of which will be part of your final grade for this mastery grade assignment. The first part will be due on the 10th of October, and that will be the standards assignment number 3. I'm going to give you more details on that at the end of this week on the Thursday-Friday class. Your second assignment for essay number 1 will be the draft, which will be due on the 17th, a week later. That is the full 2 pages. The pre-writing should get you most of the way through your first page, and hopefully a good bit of the way towards being done with your draft. You will then get revisions from me on your draft. Those will be due at the end of the next week, will be corrected, and then your final draft uploaded to JCTC will be due on Halloween. You can turn it in before Halloween if you don't want to have any homework due on Halloween, but the Halloween is the date that I'm setting for that one to be due. Unfortunately, in 2020, we might not be out trick-or-treating that night. I don't want you to be writing an essay on that night, so hopefully we'll be turning that one in a little bit before Halloween, but the due date is the 31st. So as we're working on essay number 1, we are going to continue reading The Great Gatsby. We're going to continue seeing different informational texts, and we're going to see more examples of this, I believe, essays. You're going to have fewer graded assignments in literature and informational texts as we focus on the essay. The majority of your assignments in October will be related to that essay directly. So you can expect extra credit assignments in Gatsby informational text, but fewer required assignments. We're really focusing on this essay as we go into October. And here are the requirements themselves for this essay. It must be 2 pages long. It must be in MLA format, which means double-spaced. So really, in my mind, it's more like 1 page of writing. 1-inch margins. It needs to be in Times New Roman, 12-point. And it must have a standard MLA heading and header. And we're going to talk about what that looks like in standards assignment number 3. Your paper must include the following parts. It has to have an introduction paragraph with an explicitly stated thesis. That's actually really good news because it means that this is going to be a very formulaic essay. It's going to be very easy to apply a formula to write this, and you won't have to freehand this essay. It must include 3 or 4 body paragraphs, each having a topic sentence with 3 to 4 supporting details. That's all, again, very formulaic. This should be an essay that we should be able to complete fairly quickly because of how formulaic they're asking this to be. And it must have a conclusion paragraph. The essay must be written in first-person point of view, which means you'll be saying things like I believe, or I think, or I feel, or I know. And you'll be avoiding things like you know, or direct address of the audience. There will be 4 parts to the rubric, and I'll be posting this rubric at the end of the week along with standard assignment number 3. Your purpose and focus, your idea development, the structure of the essay, and your language and conventions. For the purpose and focus part of the rubric, you'll need to establish and maintain a focus on your audience and purpose, the audience being an academic audience, and your purpose being explaining a belief that you have. You'll need to effectively engage the audience by providing relevant background information necessary to anticipate the audience's needs. So you'll have to explain your beliefs well. You can't just say, I believe this thing, I'm done. You'll have to go into detail as to why you believe it. Idea development, meaning consistently develops ideas with depth and complexity to provide insight, support, and clarification of the topic. So not only do you provide explanations, but your explanations are multifaceted, or contain multiple parts. Consistently develops ideas using appropriate and effective examples, details, facts, explanations, and descriptions. Again, as you defend your beliefs that will fill out this idea development part, you may use a variety of techniques or approaches. So hopefully you're using some metaphors, similes, other figurative language as you paint a more interesting picture of why you hold the beliefs that you hold. The structure, you must consistently organize the writing using a logical progression of ideas that flow within and between paragraphs. Basically, that means your paragraphs flow one to the other. Uses a variety of sentence lengths and structures. So we're hoping to switch up your sentence lengths a little bit, throw some commas in there and make things a little bit more complex than subject-verb sentences the whole way through. It includes a variety of transitional words and phrases that connect ideas and guides the reader. That's most easily seen in the end and beginning of paragraphs. And uses appropriate organizational techniques like comparing and contrasting, cause and effect, order of importance, and reasons and explanations. For this I believe paper, probably the reasons and explanations is going to be the easiest thing for you to include, though cause and effect also, this thing happened to be, therefore I believe this. You'll see a lot of this structure happen naturally as you write, and you won't have to go out of your way to produce it. And for language and conventions, maintaining an appropriate voice or tone, that ties back into making sure that you're aiming at your audience of an academic audience. Consistently choosing words that are appropriate to the intended audience and the purpose of writing. So your words are appropriate for that academic audience. keeping, slang terms or swearing to a minimum, if any, and if any, or at that minimum, very intentionally chosen for effect and importance. Consistently using grammar, usage, and mechanics, use spelling, punctuation, capitalization to communicate effectively and clarify the writing. That's important, just, capitalizing the beginning of your sentences, capitalizing names, throwing in periods and commas where they are proper and correct. All right, and those are the 4 parts of our rubric, and I'll be posting that again in the second half of this week, along with the directions for standards assignment number 3. All right, so there's no new informational text assignment this week. I would still love to see your Padlet assignments from a couple weeks ago on the Baldwin-Buckley debate. There was an extra credit informational assignment last week. There was a Gatsby Journal Chapter 1 graded assignment last week, and this week's only graded assignment is standards assignment number 2. And we will be moving into the land of this first essay starting next week, and I'll be introducing you guys to the pre-writing phase of that on the Thursday-Friday lesson. Again, real quick, the graded assignments on the left, these old assignments, that Padlet discussion response was due on the 5th. The A2C form was due on the 4th. The standards assignment number 1 was due on the 12th. The chapter 1 in Gatsby was due on the 19th. And the upcoming assignment for this week is standards assignment number 2. Well, thank you guys for listening, and I hope you have a good afternoon. Bye.